I came up, as I said, with a list of topics that have been reoccurring themes in the conversations that I have with women going through midlife, wondering where their career is going, what's next for them, how to go from career to retirement, how to do, how to build relationships when you're, for instance, moving to a new place, or you've moved careers, or whatever it is, how to create those relationships and still be authentic to yourself. Because I think as women, a lot of times we will self-sabotage ourselves just because that's what we think we've been taught, or that's what we saw, that's what we experienced from our mothers or grandmothers growing up. And I just want to put those kind of thoughts right to bed, right where they need to be. So rather than waiting for others to join us, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in, because I really need to be on task of holding myself to 60 minutes. And I want to make sure that for those people that have shown up on time, that you guys get the the most out of this. So today's topic is how to stay present in a world full of noise. I think that here in America, certainly there are things that, politics all around the world. There are, and I'm not a male basher. I love men. I've had 3 husbands. I love them. So I'm not here to bash men, but what I do know is that when men are in the room, women stay silent, and that's why I don't allow any men in my rooms. So and also I don't understand life from their perspective. It's not my focus. So I'm here just to speak from a woman's perspective. So what I do know about the world, even right now, is that, as I said, when men are in the room, women stay silent, or they lose their voice. They just don't speak in complete sentences. They stammer. They lose all their boundaries, their values. Everything goes out the door, especially when conflict arises. Because we're nurturers, we're people pleasers, we want people to like us naturally. And when we come from that view, when we come from that aspect of things, then we are putting ourselves on the back burner. So I'm just here to suggest that we sit ourselves at the table where we deserve to be. So in staying present in a world full of noise, I think that staying present, because of what we've just come through also with COVID, I think that is challenging. I think it's challenging to, our life was totally disrupted 2.5 years ago. And it's trying to get back to whatever that normal is for us has been challenging on many levels. And so there's a couple of things, and this is the thing. This is all easy stuff. I will never share with you stuff that's not doable, attainable, that's not for you, because all of this, everything that I do is for you. Everything is within our reach, but I can't do it for you. No one can actually do it for you. All of these things that I'm suggesting in these talks is for you to be able to do. You can do all of this. So In order to stop the noise, you call them drunken monkeys, negative self-talk, all of that stuff where we shame ourselves, talk negative, you know, just real, and in a split nanosecond, we can say, oh, that was so stupid. You're so stupid. All of those kinds of thoughts don't belong. Don't belong here. They don't belong in your thought process. But the only way to, hello, Rosemary. The only way to stop the noise is for you to get present. And by getting present, that means that you've got to be in the room. You've got to be here right now with no anticipation about what's to come. I remember when I was going through, I'm a protocol specialist, and I remember when I was going through my training, the facilitator said to us that, what would it be like for you to live in a world where everything that you did, you imagined that you were doing it for the very first time? In that, you're full of joy, you're full of anticipation, you're full of that nervous flutterness of what's to come, and you cross the threshold as though it's for the very first time, and that you are there and receptive without any preconceived ideas of what's going to happen. So you are the most present without wondering what my phone is saying, what's going on, who needs me. Oh, my phone just beeped, my phone just vibrated. I need to answer something. What if you could stop that noise and just be present? One of the quotes that I love about this is, if you hold the present clear, if you hold the present right now, the future holds no threat. If you hold the present clear, the future holds no threat. So what does that look like? What does that look like for you? If in a work conversation, whether it's a welcomed conversation or a critical conversation that you might be having with your boss or with another employee, where there's some confrontation going on, what does it look like to stay clear and not think about what's going to happen in the future, and not bring up any past events of something that might have happened in the past that's triggering things for you? What does it look like, feel like, be like, to be present in this moment? And then the other thing is, I say this a lot, again, I can't do this for you. You can choose a better feeling thought. Every time, every moment, every time a negative thought comes up, every time you're interacting with somebody that doesn't feel right, you have the choice to choose a better feeling thought. But in order to do that, we have to learn how to redirect these self-sabotaging impulses. Like, how quickly can you respond to the thoughts that you have in your head? Hello, Madeline. The thoughts that you have in your head that derail you, that put you in a different realm, that put you in a different feeling. How can you learn to Because the faster, this is the thing, the faster you feel, observe, see these negative thoughts appear, the faster you're going to be able to redirect that thought, which means ultimately you get to choose. Hi, Diane. You get to choose that thought that you want to ultimately have, that you ultimately want to be like.
I'm not Diane Barnett. That's a long story with on the technical.
You know, you can change your name.
I just
Oh,
did.
there, Terry. All right. Yes, Terry. That's what I thought. All right. That makes much more sense. Welcome, Terry.
Hi.
So I'm talking about how to stay present in a world full of noise, and that this choice that we have to choose that better feeling thought, and how the faster we're able to observe these negative thoughts that come in, these self-sabotaging thoughts, these thoughts of overwhelm, anxiety, fear, shame, guilt, the faster that we're able to grab a hold of these thoughts and notice them, the faster we're able to redirect them and look at, geez, where did that thought come from anyway? And is that thought still true? Does that thought still serve me? And I'm going to tell you that the answer is no to that. Does that thought still serve me? Is it doing anything for me at this moment? Because if we're living in the past of things that have happened to us in the past, or if we're living in the anxiety of the future, of the unknown, then we're not present and we're not able to envision that the future doesn't hold a threat for us, nor does our past, if we are right here, right now. The other thing is, there's so many messages about being uncomfortable, getting comfortable, actually being uncomfortable, meaning being uncomfortable is not always a bad thing, because a lot of times being uncomfortable actually means that we're doing something for the very first time. And when we do something for the very first time, if it doesn't feel uncomfortable, then there's probably something wrong. Like, you need to, there's got to be some kind of anxiety or thoughts of, oh, am I ready for this? Or what's about to happen? I want to, I don't know if I can. But there's something in this being uncomfortable that we're there to learn. And generally, the thought is, or the experience is, in being uncomfortable, what is it that I'm learning about myself? And I always like to think of doing any work, especially when we're talking about being present, is taking my finger, and instead of pointing it out towards someone, that I'm taking my finger and I'm pointing it back at myself. And I'm saying, what am I here to learn in this present moment? If I'm here clear, and this is something that I'm choosing to do, what is this little flutters in my stomach? What is that all about? And how can I use that to propel me forward? And in using being uncomfortable to move us forward also means, hello, Laura Lee, also means that I have to take responsibility. This is on me. I get to navigate whether what I'm about to do is moving me toward my goal, moving me towards something that I want to do, or moving me in the wrong direction. For instance, like when we say yes to somebody when we really want to say no, because we don't want to hurt their feelings. They're not going to like us if we say no. They're going to be uncomfortable. Instead of saying, I won't do that, but I can do this. So how can you take that and still be 100% responsible for what you want to do, for what kind of outcome that you want? How can you take that thought process of somebody asking you to do something for them and redirect it into something that works for you instead of just saying yes to appease people and then holding them accountable for your unhappiness or frustration or why did I do that? I can't believe I did that, which then again, you get to negative self-talk yourself. What I'm trying to get you to see is that at all times, at all twists and turns throughout a day, I can't remember how many decisions we make in a day. It's like, I don't know, it's some ridiculous amount. Like it's over 2,000 decisions that we make in a day, from the socks that we put on, the underwear we put on, what kind of toothpaste we're going to put on our toothbrush. Like we are constantly making decisions throughout the day. And how many of those decisions that we make are decisions that we make either on autopilot, where we're just on this hamster wheel of life, or they're decisions that we really make holding ourselves 100% responsible for what it is that we say that we want out of today, that we want out of this experience. And I have to say, I always, whenever we are looking at taking responsibility for ourselves, is making sure that we're hanging around the right people, making sure that the people that we are surrounded with are the people that we want in our lives. And there's a quote that I love that says, if you can't change your friends, which we can't, if you can't change your friends, then you need to actually change your friends. And this is pretty difficult. It's a pretty difficult thing for women to kind of feel, to be of the mindset of, I need to let this person go. A great way to view this thought is, I need to let this person go so that he can go find the people that they should be with. So if I'm holding their time and they don't serve me and I'm not serving them, and by letting them go, you're actually helping them to find their tribe because you're not it. So never look at that thought of, if I can't change my friends, I actually need to change my friends. Never view that thought in a negative way. It's view it as, you're actually doing them a favor. Like you're doing them a favor because they need to go find the people that they really should be with, because you might not be it. And then, we got to let some things go. We can't keep lugging around this stuff, these stories that we've been lugging around for years. It just doesn't work that way. You might think of the stories that you've got of things that have gone wrong, people that have harmed you, people that have let you down. And think of those stories as you're putting them in a bag, like the bag that on the Santa Claus stories, you see Santa Claus lugging this big bag of toys around. Well, think of that big bag of toys as all of your stories that you're holding on to, because you're not at the space where you can take 100% responsibility for yourself. You haven't worked into this way of being present in the moment where your fear and your past holds nothing over you. But if you've got this bag of stories that you have allowed to define you, whether, no matter what it is, a divorce, you were fired, somebody screamed at you, somebody called you names, somebody hurt you, harmed you in some way. This bag of stories that has then defined you to stop you from moving forward. Those stories have so much power over you because you can't move forward because you're looking outside of yourself. You've got somebody else that you are, or something else that you happen to be pointing your finger at because it's safe there. It's safe in pointing your finger at somebody else or something else or an old story or something that happened to you. It's safe to do that. But if you were to let that go, one story at a time, if you were to let those stories go, and every time you begin to say, oh, you know, my ex-husband did this, my boss did this, my whatever, whoever did this. If you were to let that story go and say, oh my gosh, I don't have an excuse anymore of why I can't do this. That I can't say that excuse anymore. Then you get to step into this really cool woman that is just going to try some things out. She's just going to be present and do something that she said that she was going to do. But the best way to get through this, staying present, where the future doesn't hold any harm, where you are learning to redirect your self-sabotaging thoughts, where you look at being uncomfortable about doing something for the very first time as really uh, uh, like a win, you know, you should be jumping up and down like, oh my gosh, I did that. Look at what I did. Look at what I did. This is exciting, and taking responsibility. But you've got to celebrate. You've got to notice, because this is all mind stuff. This is all right back here. It's all just stuck here. These stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, they're all right here. We just want to pull the stories of goodness to the front of the filing cabinet. And the only way to do that is by celebrating, is by noticing, is by reflecting and going, wow, I just did that. Like, you go to a networking event, or you're like me, I hate networking events and I hate parties, even though people would never know that inside I'm truly miserable. But when I go to a networking event or I go to a party, when I'm, after all is said and done, I then celebrate that I met somebody new. Because it's not my forte to go up to somebody, to a stranger, and go, hey, hi, I'm Mary, how are you? Tell me about yourself. it's not my forte to do that. So when I do things like that, then I go home and I'm like so celebratory about, okay, so how did I do that? Like what spurred me? What about that person spurred me to go introduce myself? What was different about that person? Because if I can do that, and the goal is to do more of that, then I need to notice who was I at that moment? Like, what was I being? What was I thinking or feeling at that moment? And who was that person? Like, what kind of, I don't know, what kind of aura did that person or energy did that person represent to me for me to want to approach them? Because if you notice these things, then your subconscious will do the rest. The subconscious will put you in a room full of people that you don't know and will guide you. It's like you're like a heat-seeking missile, right? Will guide you to seek out more of that. But if you don't celebrate or reflect on these things that you're doing for the first time, or in being uncomfortable and you did it anyway, if you don't reflect, what the subconscious ignores it because it doesn't have it, you didn't take the time to think about it or to process it. So the mind just ignores it and you lose out on this really cool experience that you had, because in that one moment you were present, you were brave, you were courageous, you were everything that you wanted to be in that moment. But without celebrating, it's just like your brain, think of your book, your brain as a book, and it's just turning the page. It's not it's not capturing what just transpired. It's just turning the page and it's just going next. There wasn't anything there for me. So learn to celebrate and reflect on these moments of things that you're doing, of something that you're doing different, or that you're being present in a conversation with not looking toward or for what you are to say next. What if you were in a conversation where you weren't thinking about what you were going to say next, or how you were going to respond? Until that person stops speaking, you got nothing going on up here except for, this is a really great conversation. Wow, look at how important this is to this person. Wow, right? What if you could reflect on that and begin to see what happens when you're doing that? How cool is that you get to celebrate that moment? And always, I constantly, all the time, talk about small steps. And I will say, the smaller steps, the better. Again, because if we break these actions, these wants, these desires, if we break them down into small bites and we step through them throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, if we step through these small steps and we notice that we are in action mode toward something different, our brain recognizes that we're just going to start where we are. If you start where you are, because in this world full of noise that we have, we're constantly comparing ourselves, thanks to social media, we're constantly comparing ourselves to somebody else. Somebody else has more followers, they're more engaged. Somebody else has on a cool outfit. Somebody knows how to dress. Somebody lives in a cool place. But we never think about the journey that that person was on. All we're looking at is, oh, I want to be that person, or oh, I should have that. I should have that because I'm the same age, or I have the same background or the same schooling. So we're constantly in comparing mode. But if you were to shut all of that up and out and start where you are, then you get to define your journey. Hence the reason why you're sitting here today. This is something that I wanted to do. I think that these discussions during this time in our life is very important. I think that my parents died young. I didn't have a role model. And, you know, back in the day, things were different. My mother never worked. She was a stay-at-home mom. My dad directed everything. She didn't have her own checkbook. She didn't have her own money. I didn't have the type of role model of the person that I want to be. So I've got to make shit up as I go. And that's why I think that these conversations are important. How do we make shit up as we go and still be okay with it? Still understand that it's okay that I'm doing this for the very first time every single day. So start where you are. Don't look at what somebody else has, what somebody else is, where somebody else is, what they're being, how they're dressed, what their makeup is like. Start where you are and focus on what is important for you and how you want to live out your life. And whatever means that is. It doesn't mean it has to sound good to me. It only has to sound good to you. And it's only going to sound good to you if you get clear on what it is that you want. And I think that that's a really hard question, because as women, that wasn't the question that anybody ever asked us. What is it that you really want? Where is it that you'd like to live? Who is it that you want to hang out with? Like, what would you like to do? What would you like to do? How, if you are an entrepreneur or want to be one, then what's enough? What's enough? And throughout these conversations that we'll be having, I'll take you on these journeys of how to get clear, how to figure out your money map, how to map out what it is that's going to be the next step for you. And to notice that as you grow and go on these steps of observing yourself and celebrating your wins, no matter how small. I'm telling you, the smallest, celebrate. It's the biggest bang for the buck that I can share with you, is celebrate the small stuff. Because you might think of it, as I'm looking out here at my daughter's garden, you might think of it as planting seeds. So you are, by celebrating these small wins, you're planting seeds of confidence to know that you can do it, that you do have what it takes. It may not feel like it. You may not have proof right now that you've got what it takes, but in fact, you do. Because if you want it, then in all actuality, it's yours if you will just take a step toward what it is that you want to do. It could be you want to smile more. It doesn't need to be some big astronomical like goal of, running a multi-million-dollar company. That matter of fact, that I suggest, I suggested people to not do that, because then over there, this goal that your everything in your being, in your body, tells you that that's not attainable and that you're full of shit. And when that conversation happens, you're stuck, you're frustrated, you're looking outside yourself for the answers instead of coming back home to where you should be and looking at what it is that you do have control over. And if you break it down into smaller bites and you celebrate those wins, your mind will actually end up putting you in front of the people and places and things that will help to guide you along this process. Your job is only then to take action. I can't do that for you. Your friends can't do that for you. You're the only one then that can step into action. There's a great quote by, I love quotes. I love quotes because for me, they're so visual. And so I was reading a book the other night, just last night, actually, from a quote by Jim Rohn, who is a wonderful inspirational speaker. And the quote is, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." And that's why I say, if you can't change your friends, it's time to change your friends, because those people matter. The people that surround you need to be your biggest cheerleaders. They need to be on your team. Think of this as a sports game, like a sporting game. Building you, the building of Rosemary, the building of Terry, the building of Lauralee, everyone else that's online here. The building of you takes a team. Who do you want on your team? And surround yourself with those people. It doesn't mean that they're going to tell you that everything is sunshine and roses every day. Those people can also challenge you. They can also say, hey, you said you were going to do this. I haven't seen you do this. You thought that this was a good idea. How does that match up with what it is that you said that you wanted yesterday? So it doesn't mean that these people that you're surrounding yourself with can't also be your devil's advocate. But it does mean that they will be with you through the thick and the thin, that they'll support you in and being present with you as you go along your journey and you're building this life for yourself, because we actually are building it at this time in our life, rather than, I hear so many people say, oh, when I retire, I'm going to go sit on the beach and drink margaritas. I can't think of anything worse. Like I can't think like 2 weeks of that, maybe, and I'm done. Like, and then what? If I'm supposed to right now I'm reading Young Forever by Dr. Mark Hyman. It's a fabulous read, by the way. He's such a great writer. But they're doing all this research now on longevity and saying that it's going to be the norm that we're going to live to 100, possibly 120. So if that's the case, what the hell are you going to do with your life for the next 60 years after you retire or after you end your career? or whatever time of life that is for you. What are you going to do with yourself? Because trust me, if you're not going to plan it, somebody else will. And whether that's your kids making you the full-time babysitter, which is not a terrible thing. I love my grandkids. And for women that enjoy doing that, fabulous. I'm not one of them. I love to come in, sprinkle some fairy dust on my family, and then leave. Actually, you don't want me as your full-time child care provider, because it's not my jam. That's not my jam. So that doesn't make me a bad person, by the way. It actually makes me a better grandmother, because I understand that that's not my thing. So I get to come in and imagine and talk to the kids about, what is it that you want to do? When I go back to California in 3 weeks, my granddaughter and I are taking self-defense classes. That's something that her mother wouldn't do with her. But she's going into junior high and she's afraid. And I said, well, if you're afraid to go into junior high, what will make you unafraid? I said, maybe we could take some self-defense classes and we can both learn how to protect ourselves. And she thought that was a brilliant idea. That's what I can do. You don't want me around your kids all day long. That's a notice, ladies, that I don't need to hold any guilt. I don't need to hold any, what gene am I missing because I don't want to do that all day long? I don't have to think about that. So who's your tribe? Where are they? What are they doing for you? How are you staying connected? And in order to get to that place where you are holding the present very clear is, and I'm saying this, ladies, because I see it all day long, and in Poland, I experience it every single day, and it makes me crazy, is learn how to accept a compliment. If somebody tells you that you look great today, if somebody tells you that color looks fabulous on you, or that dress looks fabulous on you, the response is not, oh, this old thing, oh, I bought this at Marshall's on sale. Oh, I never wear colors like this. Take the compliment. If somebody gets up for you to give them your seat, take it. Never, ever, ever say, oh, no, that's okay. Oh, no, that's okay. Take the fucking seat. Because if you don't take the seat, the message that you're sending back to that person is, number one, you're not worthy. And number two, that they're more important than you. And that, ladies, is not true. If somebody offers you their seat, say, thank you very much, and sit your ass down. And then if somebody older than you or disabled or a mom with kids or is pregnant gets in, you have an opportunity to offer your seat to them. But unless you do that, unless you take the seat, you have lost all of your ability to do that. Now in Poland, a lot of times if there's we call them babcias, which is a grandmother in Polish. I'm a babcia. I have gray hair, but babcias in Poland, what they're referring to is these old hunched over kerchief on their head, tied under here. That's the kind of babcia I'm referring to. When they get on the bus or the tram, and if nobody gets up for them, they'll actually hit them in the side of the head. And it happens all the time. So much so that my grandson that is in Poland refuses to even sit down on the tram anymore because he's so afraid that he's not going to get up at the right time. So listen, take the compliment. It's yours. Never, ever say, if somebody tells you you've got a great haircut, great hairdo, thanks. You made my day. You don't need to say, oh, I went to this new hairdresser. You don't. Stop the storytelling. Take the compliment. If somebody has an offer for you, if somebody is offering you something, take it. Don't say, oh, no, you can save that for so-and-so. Take the offer. Take what they're giving you. Don't go and say, oh, that's not, I don't need that. And then you leave the space or the conversation. You go, oh, gee, I really would have loved to have that. Take it. If it's an opportunity, somebody is trying to hook you up with somebody else. So, I know Laura Lee has some properties. So Laura Lee is introduced to somebody that needs a home, or she's introduced to a contractor, or follow through on these things, because you never know where they're going to lead. And sometimes it's like, oh, that was a waste of time, right? I mean, sometimes that happens. But if somebody's introducing you to somebody, or somebody has an idea for you, or I don't know, a thought of something, take a look at that and take it and follow up with it. Because again, you don't know if you really want that person or that thing in your sphere. Maybe you don't. But unless you go and scope it out, you're not going to know. I'll tell you, some of the things that have happened to me in my life because I followed up with opportunities have been crazy, mind-blowing stuff that I never, honestly, that I never would have done myself. I never would have done myself. And you have to do this without trying to justify it. Oh, there's something behind this. They're doing this for a reason. They want something from me. It's just maybe they do. If you're taking 100% responsibility for your life, then it's not going to matter. And that's their stuff. That's their story. It doesn't need to be your story. Oh, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve. That's for somebody else. No, it's not. They're giving you this compliment. They're giving you this opportunity. They didn't give it to the person standing next to you. They gave it to you. Instead, keep asking yourself, what if everything were to go right? What if everything were to go right? Thanks, Madeline. What could happen? What opportunities then would come up? What compliments then would come up? What offers would come up? What if everything were just to go right, because I was being true to myself. I stopped the noise that's spinning around me because I got present, I got clear, and I got responsible, and I got convicted to myself that what would my life feel like if everything were to go right today, in this moment, not tomorrow, not a year from now, but what if everything were to go right, right in this very moment? So go ahead, Laura Lee. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
There
Sorry.
you go.
Two things. One, I was that statement, what if everything went right at this moment? And then to even like cement it, I've been lately saying, well, what is it going to feel like a year from now? Like maybe this is a year from now. And I'm comfortable and I went through the move and my cat settled, and now it's a year later, and how cool would that be? And it's so easy, So that's what I think, I'm very comfortable a year from now, settled, whatever. But anyhow, back to that entrepreneur where you're supposed to listen to everybody or whatever. Anyhow, this cowboy contacted me yesterday to be a tenant. And I thought to myself, a cowboy, I have never been around a cowboy. He had the hat on and broad shoulders, a strong hand, the belt and the boots. And I thought, sure, that would be so cool to have a cowboy live on my property. And I thought to myself, you know what, maybe a year ago, I would have never said something like that. So you're right. You have to be open, and thank you for having this.
Yes. Thanks for your comments. Does anybody else have any questions or comments that they want to shout out? Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Second, there.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say get present, get clear, get responsible, get conviction to myself, can you say a little more about conviction to myself?
So
what do you mean?
So being convicted to your vision, right? Because that vision holds something for us. And in order to get to that vision, we actually have to do something different. And we have to actually be different. Because if not, we'd already be there. So what do I need to let go of in order to get the vision? So if I'm convicted to my vision, my next right step, I could say also, if I'm going to be convicted to my next right move, my next right step, then I have to associate myself with the person in the vision, with the person that has the thing or the stuff or the relationship or the whatever that I want or that I'm working toward. So in that conviction is also believing. I have to believe that this is already mine because I'm that cool and I'm not deserving. So being convicted is like owning it, owning your story, owning your path. Yeah, great question. Thanks.
Thank you. I have another Zoom meeting in 3 minutes.
Sure.
But I've
understand
this, and I've turned away a lot because I'm writing notes. I'm a kinesthetic learner. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for showing up, Terry.
Sure. Is there going to be a further chat somewhere on this class afterward?
The best place to do that is over in the Facebook group. I haven't set up a chat on any other platform yet, but the best place to do that would be in the Facebook group. If you have any other comments or questions, you're welcome to message me. You're welcome to email me, whatever. Okay, Adrienne, yes, go ahead.
Well, I thought
Thank you.
very inspiring and just great to hear, you know, what you've shared. And I loved how you brought mindfulness really alive by saying, you know, what if you approach every moment as though it's the first time you've done it, like with that freshness.
Yes.
So that was great. So many different pieces really felt inspiring to me. And maybe next week's talk will be something that I'm still holding the story of just kind of like some guilt things from the past. And so that's the baggage, but I'm not yet sure how to work into forgiveness in a way that doesn't, it clouds the present. Yeah, so I just really appreciate your bringing alive so many very tangible things. So thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad it was helpful. So yeah, next week's topic is on forgiveness, and I'll tell you, if it's really one of the first steps into growth is forgiveness. And it's not only forgiving the other person, because it's generally a person.
It's more about myself.
That is magic. Once you forgive yourself, the world opens. The world will roll out its red carpet to you.
That's what I feel.
It's that important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we will work on that, and I'm actually going to record a webinar on forgiveness, because when we talk about forgiveness, the first thing that comes to most people's heads is oh, I can't forgive him for what he did, or I can't forgive them, or I don't need to forgive myself. It's not me that I need to forgive. So you're one step ahead, Adrienne, in what you're saying. So that's great that you recognize that. But it's getting deep, and it takes some time. It takes time, but the freedom that you gain from it is life-changing, because if you need to forgive yourself for not doing something, or forgive yourself for allowing somebody to harm you, or forgive yourself for making I'll say this, a stupid decision, meaning an incorrect decision at that time. You made a decision that was not in alignment with who you are. As women, we do that all day long. All of these things that we do throughout our life that we hold ourselves in judgment of, once we release that judgment and criticism, then and only then can we step into our authentic self.
Yeah, it feels like it's that. I'm so glad you see it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank
do.
you.
I do. It's big. It's life-changing.
Yeah.
And and it's not going to come without a fight. It's not going to come without a fight, because that stuff is deep, and we want to hold on to it. And so take it easy on yourself next week. Take it easy on yourself, because it's not something that's, that you're going to hear in an hour-long session recording or chat, and it's going to disappear, because it doesn't work like that. But it is a process. And as long as you stay on the process and in the process, then you'll be able to feel a shift. So that's great.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So thank you so much for showing up. If you head over to the Facebook group and you want to say something or send me a message, whatever, I so appreciate you being here and, like helping me figure out what this is going to look like. You can send me also put in the chat in the Facebook group or send me a message. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want more of, what you want less of. Like, I don't know. I'm just, I'm doing this for the very first time. So I want to make sure that it works for you. Yeah. Okay.
We love you, Mary.
Thanks, Laura Lee. I appreciate that. All right, ladies. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.